The new Jubilee video is out, and I had the surreal experience of debating against Cenk, the guy who founded the Young Turks and, has been a giant in the progressive media space for essentially my entire life. I wanted to give you guys a little sense of what the experience of going on Jubilee is like, how I ended up debating Cenk in the first place, and why I ended up confronting him in the way that I did, which you may have seen in the trailer for the video. Or if you've watched the whole thing, then you've already seen how it went down. A little bit about me. My name is Nick. I've been working in politics my entire life. I live in LA. I went to college at Berkeley for political science. And then I met my wife working on the Bernie Sanders campaign down in South Carolina in 2016. Worked on a bunch of local, state, federal campaigns before and since then. I was actually elected as a delegate for Bernie Sanders to the 2020 DNC. So I'm not like a milk toast establishment Democrat figure, which I'm sure you might have thought, considering it was portrayed as 20 Democrats and Republicans against the great populist Cenk Uygur.
Surname is Uygur, Uygur, like you, grr.
First of all, I want to clear something up right away. When you do one of these videos, you don't know who the heck you're debating, okay? So this is actually my second time doing a Jubilee video. The first time I had been watching these middle ground videos, which I thought were really cool, like small group setting, people having meaningful conversations about nuanced issues, trying to find some kind of point of consensus, real old school halcyon days of democracy type stuff, not the kind of thing that people are into anymore. But I didn't end up getting chosen for a middle ground video.
Oh, what a loser!
I ended up getting invited to go on this new surrounded format thing where I debated Ben Shapiro before the last election.
Hey, Ben, nice to meet you. So just returning to the prompt that the war in Gaza wouldn't have started if Trump were president.
Yes.
The reason that I disagree with that so vehemently is just looking at history. I don't think that the bombing of the Beirut embassy would have happened if Jimmy Carter had won in 1980. I don't think that Nixon is responsible for the Six-Day War. For the Yom Kippur War. I don't think that if Dewey had defeated Truman, that Israel wouldn't be independent.
Which was, it was very interesting. That's a story for another time. I did that. They don't tell you who you're going to debate. I think it went okay. And again, these videos are open to anybody. Anybody can apply. It just helps if you live in LA because that's where they film these things.
6 months later.
So a few months go by, apply for more middle ground, don't get it. And then one of the directors for the Surrounded series calls me up and is like, we've had somebody drop out. We've got another Surrounded episode coming out. We think you'd be a great fit. You want to do it. That's all I knew. And I was like, yeah, sure. They told me the premise that it would be, all they said was a populist in the middle. They didn't say whether it was right or left. And then you would have Democrats and Republicans on the outside. And I think, one of the biggest misconceptions about politics is, yes, the people on the top are rich people who are doing this as kind of an ego boost. They're patricians and aristocrats who don't really have to work.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
So they decide to do politics as kind of like a hobby. Most people who work on campaigns or in elected offices or in the civil service are mostly just, well-meaning political nerds. Whether you're a conservative or a progressive. Now it is becoming a little bit more dominated by people with a real ideological agenda of one mix or another.
And into this ring, he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life.
But for the most part, it's people that just love their country, love their city, love their state, whatever it is, and they just want to make it better. Well, big shocker. Second misconception I think people had is that the Mehdi Hassan video came out where there was those crazy people that were talking about how they supported fascism and stuff.
So you don't believe in democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy. You
We
shouldn't
may
stuff
have
like that,
to
which is
rename
bad,
this show
but
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
hey, what can I say?
I think you could say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
That video was actually filmed on the same day that this one was filmed. They just did it in the morning and then ours was in like the afternoon. So when we finished our video, they were like, yeah, you guys have no idea how crazy the last one was. And they were right. It ended up being pretty damn insane. So he has this claim that was Democrats don't really want to accomplish their agenda. It's just a marketing gimmick.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Which, you know, I'm not going to fight on whether Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton really wanted to achieve some kind of progressive political agenda, right? That's not really what I was arguing. My point is that Democrats encompass a lot more, millions more people than just the people that are at the top whose names are on the doors getting to make the real decisions.
Bringing millions of people into the political process.
Most Democrats, the ones that kind of shape what the party stands for, very much earnestly have a vision of the country that they want to implement. Same way that Republicans very much have a vision of the country that they want to implement. We, unfortunately, constantly run into the roadblocks that are a feature, not a bug, of the American political system. There is an asymmetric power advantage between Democrats and Republicans because Republicans, at least in the last 10 to 15 years, and correction, Republicans before Trump were mainly concerned with not doing things.
William F. Buckley Jr., when he started National Review, he joked about that. He said a conservative is one who stands athwart history yelling stop.
Which the American political system with its checks and balances is designed to do.
This is my design.
It is designed to safeguard the status quo, allow for minimal changes over a long period of time.
It's not just about me and my dream of doing nothing. It's about all of us together.
But at the same time, if you have a progressive vision for the country, or even if you're like Nick Fuentes and you have a reactionary vision for the country, or if you're Donald Trump and you have your own kind of idiosyncratic political vision for the country like tariffs that requires doing something, it is difficult to get those ideas through Congress, through the courts, implemented. And then once they're implemented, keeping them over the long term and not having the next guy that comes in just throw everything out, like what we saw with the Biden administration, the Inflation Reduction Act, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, the American Rescue Plan. The point is, do Democrats want to enact an agenda? Absolutely they do. And I raised an example in the video where I talked about the influence that Cali PA has had well, really the California Air Resources Board has had on air quality and health and environmental safety in this state. I mean, it is night and day compared to before environmental regulations were made to today.
Pollution was affecting every city in America, and the most affected was Los Angeles. In about 20 years, Los Angeles had gone from this to this.
So why did I get in Cenk's face about the union busting?
Well, we're waiting.
Now, first of all, this bears repeating, said it before, saying it one more time. I did not know that Cenk was going to be the person we were debating. I did not know, okay? I knew it was going to be a populist. I did not know if it was right-wing or left-wing, okay? I was kind of hoping it would be, I'm not even going to say. I thought, or maybe was hoping that it might have been some other people. Did not think it was going to be Cenk, okay? But he brings up at one point, he's talking about how one of the bills that I mentioned before was bad because it didn't prevent Intel from firing people. And for whatever reason, because he's not wrong about that point, but for whatever reason, him specifically criticizing something to do with firing people, I thought that the hypocrisy in that moment was like screaming in my ear. And I had read in like 2020-ish about the fact that people at the Young Turks had tried to form a union, that they had gone to Cenk with a card check. Card check, for those of you that don't know, just means that a majority of the people in the business have signed things saying that they want to sign a union. And then the employer can voluntarily recognize that union, or they can force an election through the NLRB. Now, why is it, you might be thinking, what's wrong with having an election, a secret ballot? It is more expensive. It benefits the employer most of all, because then they're able to do a lot of anti-union educating and things leading up to the ballot, a lot of union intimidation tactics. You can fire leaders. Technically, that's illegal, but people find ways to do it, and they don't really get in trouble for it. And it ends up being that it is less expensive to simply fire a union organizer and then take whatever repercussions there are than having to deal with a union. And I thought that hypocrisy was pretty glaring. Now, I do not think that everybody should be forced to join a union.
Death is a preferable alternative to communism.
What I do feel very strongly is that if people in a business want to be in a union, and the more you ratchet up the physical difficulty of a job, the more that workforce will likely benefit from a union. I do think that it should be easier to join a union. And certainly, if you are somebody that presents yourself as a progressive, as an economic populist, as somebody who advocates for the working class, you, at a bare minimum, should be willing to accept the lowest barrier to entry for a union in the workplace that you operate. This is the very practical, real world manifestation of what Cenk actually believes. Actions are deeds. You cannot be a good person without doing good works. You might say to yourself, you're a nice person. If you don't do good things, you are not. So while Cenk says a lot of things that I may agree with when it comes to the control of money in our politics, to criticize it on the grounds of labor protections when you wouldn't even apply that standard to your own workplace, it's kind of BS. It's a little bit of BS.
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and give my perspective of what that whole conversation was like. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Subscribe. I think there's a lot of people out there who talk about politics from the perspective of a spectator. And I can say, as a participant in this horrible theater of politics, there's a perspective that I think I can bring that you all might appreciate. So I hope that you have some kind of interest in hearing more from me, because I'd like to do more of this. So thank you guys.